Hello and welcome to the Life of the Troxels. I'm so glad that you're here today. I wanted to share a little Q&A about our most recent trip to Disneyland. So we live in the Los Angeles area and go to Disneyland about once a year. We started going 2 years ago with my eldest and then have gone every year. And then this year we took my second daughter for her first time, and it was also my first time going to Disneyland pregnant. My first and my last time going to Disneyland pregnant. And I wanted to share a little bit about going to Disneyland in your second trimester. To introduce myself, my name is Laura. I'm a mom of 3. I have a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, an 18-month-old, and as well as I'm 16 weeks pregnant with baby number 4. And we did a one-day ticket, one park ticket to Disneyland. So who went with me? It was me and my husband, as well as our daughter Brooklyn. She was 4 days before her 3rd birthday. So she's 3 now, but at the time she was still considered free admission. So it was Brooklyn's first time to Disneyland. This is a tradition that my family has where right around your 3rd birthday, we'll take you to Disneyland, just mom and dad and yourself. You have no siblings to go with you for your very first time. So it's a very special time to have that one-on-one connection with mom and dad. And we love going because we just love going to Disneyland in general and being able to take our kids with us. So when did you go? We went on Wednesday, November 20th, which was the first week right after they had decorated for the Christmas season. And we were there from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Now, how crowded was it? It was very crowded. I feel like this is probably one of the most crowded trips that I've ever had at Disneyland. It definitely, some days you get lucky and it's not as crowded, and some days it's more crowded, and I felt like this was definitely a more crowded day. I've seen other people talk about going to Disneyland during the holiday season and have different experiences, and it was just kind of like the luck of the trip. We specifically went on this Wednesday because the park tickets were a little bit cheaper this day. So I feel like that had, that contributed to it, because I'm sure a lot of other people were also trying to go on the day when the tickets were the cheapest. It wasn't just that it was crowded around the park with lots of people and trying to maneuver the stroller around, like that's part of it, but all of the lines, they were at least 30 minutes long, and most of them were over 40. 40 minutes, 50 minutes for pretty much every ride. So we could definitely see that it was very busy, and it kind of interfered with some of the activities and things that we were hoping that we'd be able to do while we were there. I definitely know that it gets busier during the holiday season. That is something that they warn everyone about, and we're okay with that. And especially being pregnant and having a toddler, like we understand we're not going to be able to do everything that's on the list to do. Even things like putting in a mobile order, you would try to order something and it'd be a 4-hour window from now. You know, we couldn't eat until like 2:30 p.m. I'm ordering it at 10 a.m. but I wouldn't be able to eat lunch until like 2:30. And that was little things like that were kind of telling about how crowded it was, that there's a lot of other competition for not only the rides, but also just for the line for food. Definitely one question that I had was, what kind of rides could you do while you were pregnant? Never having been pregnant at Disneyland before, I kind of assumed that there were some rides that were there. And I kind of went along with the idea that if it was appropriate for my toddler, my 3-year-old, then it would be appropriate for a pregnant person. There's a lot of rides that have height requirements, and we didn't go on anything that had a height requirement at all. And basically stuck to boat rides and dark rides, like in Fantasyland and things along those lines. Which ones we were able to do? We did Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean, It's a Small World, Buzz Lightyear. We also did the Teacups and Mr. Toad in Fantasyland, the Carousel, Jungle Cruise, that was another boat ride we did, and then as well as we did the Chip and Dale's roller coaster in Toontown. So even though it's a roller coaster, it was something that we felt comfortable doing. We also did some other entertainment that were non-ride things. Obviously things like the parade was a big one. We got to watch the parade. There's a playground in Toontown. I think it's called like Goofy's Playground or something like that. And Brooklyn loved that. We spent like 30 minutes of her just like running around, going down the slide and playing in all the houses and things like that in the playground. She loved the fountain as she was splashing around in the fountain. And then we also meet the princesses. That's a tradition that we like to do. Have some interesting stories about meeting them this time, but you know, not everything has to be a ride that you go on. And all of those things, obviously, I was able to do being pregnant. But it is interesting seeing the differences between your children, like just being a parent and taking my oldest, Maddie. She loved meeting the princesses, took it very seriously. She wore her princess dress all day. And that was a very important thing that we had to do when we went to Disneyland. For the past two trips that we've taken her, that was very important. And then with Brooklyn, she had no interest meeting the princesses. She was grumpy. She was a little bit tired. We went around nap time, so that might have been poor planning on our part, but it's kind of, I think it's kind of hilarious looking at the pictures and the videos that we took that she was just so grumpy, and the princesses are so sweet, and Brooklyn had no interest in meeting them at all. And it's just funny seeing like the difference in their personalities and having that one-on-one time with them, being able to see them just as they are, not with their siblings around, that you can really get to know them better and like see those personality traits come out with them. Another question is, did you use Lightning Lane Multipass? And yes, we did end up purchasing the Lightning Lane Multipass. It's an additional fee on top of your park tickets. And I went back and forth about it because in a previous video, I'd even mentioned that I did not think it was worth it to purchase it. At the time, it was called Genie Plus, but the same kind of idea. I didn't think it was worth purchasing it if you had a toddler, just based on the rides that were available. A lot of them have those higher height requirements and you're not able to go on them if you want to take your kid with you. But it was Brooklyn's first time and we didn't want to have to be waiting in all of these lines. And so we said, okay, for the rides that we can go on, we should utilize it, especially for her first time. And, you know, it's just one of those things where you tell yourself something and then you go against what you say and you realize I was right the first time. Because, again, I don't think it's worth it to go and purchase Lightning Lane, Multipass, whatever it's called, when you have a toddler and you're limited to the number of rides that you can do. We use it for 2 rides. I think there's like 7, 8, or 9, no, there's maybe like 9 or 10 rides that are available to you to use. 6 of those are gonna be out of reach anyway because of the height requirement on it. And then another one of them was closed down for that day for refurbishment. And so we were really limited on the ones that we could even use it for. There was one other one that I wanted to use the Lightning Lane for, and when I went to look and book it out, by the time we had used it, we used it for Small World and Pirates. And I was hoping, I think I used it, yeah, we used it for Small World, Pirates, and then I wanted to use it for Astro Blasters. But then when I looked at when it was like way in the evening, and you're like, oh, you can use it for like 9:45 at night. I'm like, we're not even gonna be here at 9:45 at night. But I couldn't book it any earlier because I was booking those other rides earlier in the day. We ended up going on the ride and just going through standby, but I was just like, I feel like it's not as useful to me with a toddler and being pregnant as it might be to someone else who's able to ride all of the rides that are available to them. So I learned my lesson. Now I know we do not book Lightning Lanes, Genie Plus, Fast Passes, whatever it is, if you have a toddler. Like I mentioned, some of the rides that we wanted to ride were not available to us. A lot of them were pregnancy friendly and toddler friendly, but we weren't able to get to them in our one day at Disneyland. Things like a lot of the Fantasyland rides, they first of all had some long waits, you know, at least 30 minutes, which isn't terrible, but it's kind of a long wait for how short the ride is. And we had some bad luck. We tried to ride Pinocchio and it broke down while we were in line. We tried to ride Winnie the Pooh and it broke down while we were in line. We wish we really could have ridden the railroad, but that was closed down for that day. They've been doing some refurbishment on it, so we couldn't ride that. So we had a little bit of bad luck with that. Some of the other options were the Tiki Room and the Finding Nemo submarines. Those we weren't able to make work with our schedule. But other than that, pretty much the only other rides that we didn't get to had certain height requirements, and those are not really available to expectant moms. So what about food? Now, this was actually something that I was kind of nervous about because I have some severe morning sickness, especially in the early first and second trimesters of my pregnancies. So if I go more than 2 hours about without eating anything, I start to feel bad, and I did not want that to just interfere with our day at Disney. So I actually felt like it was pretty easy to find options that worked for me and was able to get them on a pretty reasonable schedule. I was worried because like our lunch was kind of pushed back until 2:30. So I'm like, oh, we're not even eating lunch until 2:30. You know, I can't wait to go that long without eating, but we had packed a bunch of snacks. We packed like Cheez-Its and Goldfish and waters and things like that in our bag. So that kind of held us over until we were able to get a snack. Other things like Mickey pretzels, churros, popcorn. We kind of got like snacky stuff in between until we're ready for our lunch. And then lots of options for lunch as well. I got the grilled cheese and tomato soup from Jolly Holiday, and that was amazing. And Eric was able to get like his cheesy stuffed pretzel and really loved that. So we had a lot of options that weren't very heavy that would, you know, start to make you feel sick. And like I had mentioned earlier, mobile ordering was not as smooth as I hoped that it would be. You know, booking out, they didn't have availability for like 4 hours, but we were still able to make it work. And we actually lucked out with that because I had placed the Jolly Holiday lunch order and it was for 2:30 pickup. And so we're like waiting around in the area, waiting to get the food. That's right as the parade is starting and kind of moving through the park. And we got so lucky. We were able to get our food and find a table at Jolly Holiday and watch the parade as we were eating our lunch. And that was just like the perfect thing. We got to sit and relax, get some food in us, get some treats in us. And that was like a really special time of the day. I didn't think we were going to be able to watch the parade, and so it was really nice to kind of combine that with lunch, and wouldn't have happened if I didn't have to eat my lunch at 2:30. However, some of the food was a fail. Specifically our breakfast. We really wanted to get coffee, but you know, we went immediately straight to get breakfast, so we surpassed the Starbucks on Main Street. And then the coffee place that's open in Star Wars Land doesn't open until 10:30, which seems kind of ridiculous. Like you're selling coffee, but you're not opening until 10:30. And then we were told that the best food at Disneyland, or the best breakfast at Disneyland, is the breakfast Ronto wraps from Star Wars Land. And we had never gone to Star Wars Land and never had the food there. So we specifically went there first thing in the morning. And it is not the best breakfast. That was kind of a fail. It's a hot dog wrapped in a pita. And then they throw a little bit of scrambled eggs in it. Like, and when I say a little bit, I mean a little bit of scrambled eggs in it. yeah, next time we loved going to Carnation Cafe on Main Street in the morning, and so that's what we'll stick with next time. So that was definitely a lame way to kind of start off our day, but Brooklyn did get to meet a stormtrooper, so that was really cool. She had a fun character interaction. So another common question is, what was the budget? Honestly, we didn't really have a budget, but we did want to be kind of careful with what we were spending and not go overboard. So we picked a park day where the tickets were not as expensive as some of the other days. So that saved us a little bit of money as well, but we had 2 tickets because my daughter was not yet 3, so she gets admission for free. We also had to pay for parking, as well as we did purchase the Lightning Lane multi-pass. Then you have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and the snacks that you want, as well as any souvenirs. We let Brooklyn pick out a souvenir. She picked out this little Mirabelle play set. We also bought like a little souvenir signature book for when she was meeting the princesses. But we did pack a bunch of snacks and waters and things like that to bring with us. And I do have a video of what I parked in my pack bag, of what I packed when we went to Disneyland, and so I can link that video and the other Disneyland videos down below if you're interested in some of the stuff that we brought. So it really wasn't a crazy amount, and if you're trying to go like on a budget, all you have to do is buy your park ticket and pay for parking, and if you bring your own food and snacks and things like that, that's it. That's all you need to pay, and you can enjoy your full day at Disneyland. So what were my thoughts on the holiday decor and the Christmas decor? So like I've said, this is definitely one of our favorite times to go. We've gone during Halloween time, we've gone during Christmas time, and wanted to go during Christmas time again because it really is so magical with lights everywhere. You know, on Main Street, there's garlands everywhere. The castle is just completely lit up, like sparkling. The lights on It's a Small World are all so beautiful, and just, you know, the Haunted Mansion overlay with all of that, just everything is so special and just like extra decorated and extra magical. So we love going, and even though it is a little more expensive and a little more crowded at that time of year, we definitely think it's worth it. It's just such a special thing, especially when we only go one day a year, once a year. We like to have that little extra magic when we go. When is our next trip? So that'll be next year. With a baby due in April, we're not gonna go again until after the baby's born. So maybe 6 months after that will be about November and December again. Well, it's not quite. It'll be, you know, maybe like October and November, and we'll be ready to go again. And what we're planning on doing is taking my 2 oldest, now that they've both gone to Disneyland for the first time, we'll take them together and go to California Adventure. And it'll be me and my husband and my 2 oldest, who will be 6 and 4 at the time, and it'll be their first time at California Adventure, as well as Eric's first time to California Adventure. So that is our plan for our next Disney trip. Even as locals, we don't go any more than just once a year. So I hope that this was helpful for you if you are heading out to Disneyland soon with a toddler or pregnant for the first time. I'm here to tell you it's totally doable, and you know, wear your comfortable shoes and wear your comfortable stretchy pants, and it's a lot of fun to go and have those memories. Even if you are pregnant, even if you do have little kids, don't let it hold you back from going to Disneyland and making those memories. And if you would like to see what we did last year at Disney when we went at Christmas time, it was a much better experience. We were able to ride so many more rides and do so many more things that day. So go ahead and check that video out next. I'll have everything linked down below for you. And please consider subscribing if you're interested in learning more about the life of the Troxels, not just Disney, but other travel videos and motherhood vlogs, and just life as a mom and life as a family of soon to be 6. So I hope you stick around. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.